have here in my hand a very precious smart ring that, as far as I'm aware, is the thinnest smart ring on the planet right now, yet despite this fact has one of the best battery lives of any smart ring that I've tested so far. This is my precious, and it's the Ringconn Gen 2. Now, I've been wearing and testing smart rings for a long while, and I've got to say that these are my preference over smartwatches and fitness trackers. Don't get me wrong, smartwatches have their time and place. No pun intended. But what if I want to pop on my 1963 Omega Seamaster for a little bit? I instantly lose all health tracking capabilities, because you can bet as sure as hell that this 61-year-old watch doesn't have a heart rate monitor built into it. I mean, I don't even know if they knew about human heart that long ago. I think they probably thought that humans ran on coal or roast beef or something. But moving back to the point, I love to wear regular watches, but I also love being able to understand a little bit more about my general health, which is exactly where smart rings have come into their strength for me, because they offer a consistent and constant health tracking that I want night and day and always on my hand. Its sensors on the inside of the ring can measure heart rate, blood oxygen, skin temperature, steps, and all manner of other things through fancy algorithms. Generally speaking, that's what most smart rings are capable of, but I seriously think that this, the Ringconn Gen 2, definitely has some edges over its competitors, starting with the form factor. As I already said, this is the lightest and thinnest smart ring, to my knowledge, that you can buy right now. That fact in its own right is one of the most important things about this ring, because when it's on, it both looks and feels exactly like a normal ring. Take a look at these two rings side by side, and genuinely the similarity in size is unbelievably close. Unless you knew that one ring was packing all of that tech and was actually a smart ring, I don't think you'd be able to tell. And as for feeling, all I can say is that it's ultra thin. Prior to this, I've been wearing the Oura Gen 3 for several months, and whilst that still feels nice on hand, it does feel slightly chunkier than a regular ring. Slightly. This, however, is indistinguishable on hand from a regular ring, and I know that will please a lot of people. There are many out there who hate chunky rings, so I can say with a degree of certainty that this is the ring or smart ring for you if you want a comfortable experience that's almost indistinguishable from a regular ring. And that's interesting, because when you take it off, you actually realise it's not completely round on the exterior. It's ever so slightly square. And that's because it's thinner on the sides, which gives that illusion. And I think that's why it feels slim on the hand. Where your fingers actually press against the sides is exactly where the ring is at its thinnest. And although it might be only like a millimetre of difference, I can't begin to describe the difference it's made to the overall feel of it on your hand. Now, the Gen 2 comes in 3 colours as well: silver, black, and my choice, gold. And I want to personally thank Ringconn for offering a gold option. Too many brands are shying away from gold recently, but in my opinion, it's the most traditional of colours for wearable adornments, and absolutely my choice if you couldn't tell. The only thing from a design standpoint I wish Ringconn included would have been a little marker or indicator on the exterior to help me feel if I've got the ring the wrong way round. With the Oura Gen 3, there's a small etched oval that's designed to sit on the underside of your hand. It's something that you kind of subconsciously play with and end up checking if the ring's in the right spot. Because this doesn't have that, I sometimes have to take it off to see which way it needs to be on. Although, actually, I don't remember where Ringconn say that those sensors have to be on the underside of your finger, so it might not actually matter that much. But going back to the thinness of this thing, you can imagine my surprise when Ringconn mentioned that this has a 10 to 12 day battery life, which just seemed impossible. So naturally I had to test it. I fully charged it, synced it only once per day, and it lasted a total of just shy of 10 days, which, although is slightly less than the reported time, I'm more than impressed by. That's far longer than the Oura Gen 3, and it makes a big difference to the overall experience of wearing a smart ring. What makes the experience even better when it comes to charging, however, is that this actually comes with a bit of an accessory. comes with this. It's a little case, fully metal, with an internal battery that holds enough charge to keep the ring powered for 150 days. 150 days! This is a huge round of applause, and I absolutely love this addition. You can leave it plugged in at home and treat this as a little charging dock for your ring, but then when you go on holiday, just take the case with you and it'll keep the ring charged. But let's face it, with 10 days of battery life off its own back, it'll probably cover most holidays. And with 150 days with the case, I can move to the Yukon wilderness, thousands of miles away from the nearest plug socket, eat nothing but berries and bear droppings for 5 months. And at the end, the ring will still have some charge left. That's not just incredible, that's an outright violation of every other smart ring out there. But the real question is, does this absolutely revolutionary update in smart ring technology precede a similar software experience? Well, I'm happy to report that there's quite a few surprises when it comes to this. Loading it up, you're met with a type of graph that gives you a quick glance of your overall wellness and some commentary underneath on the data your ring has collected. Scrolling down accesses your sleep results from the night before, your daily steps and activity, your stress levels and information about your heart, such as BPM and blood oxygen level. You can enter any of these sections and get further information about those specific pieces of data. And there's a hell of a lot of information in here that this ring generates from its onboard sensors and Ringconn algorithms. It can be a little bit daunting, all of this information, and can sometimes feel a little bit cluttered, which is why I like looking at the trending section of the app. This gives you a much more digestible set of information about your health and trends and communicates that in a paragraph information sheet, a bit like a doctor's report. And I'm a big fan of this type of display for data. It just makes it a lot more accessible and understandable. Now, during my test, I actually saw something that I wasn't expecting. I had a warning flash up telling me that my vital signs showed abnormality. When I saw it, that message, I thought to myself, that's it, I'm gonna die. How long have I got left to live? Perhaps I should donate all my socks to charity and settle my affairs. Well, thankfully, I hadn't synced the ring for a few days, and it was actually referring to a fateful early morning of the 27th of July. I'd gone out for a meal the night before, and at 1 a.m. I'd awoken with a sudden urge to evacuate my bowels from both ends of my body, evidently after contracting some severe case of food poisoning. Now, the ring had detected a sudden massive spike in my heart rate over its normal nighttime averages, likely as I was retching into the toilet. Annoyingly, this was at the very end of my battery duration test, so it ran out a few hours later, so I can't see the recovery of myself on the graphs. And like I said, this is why it wasn't until a few days later when I'd recovered and charged the ring did I notice it had this kind of abnormality of my vitals. So, what does this mean? I think it means from a software point, it's amazing. And from a tracking standpoint, you can't really argue with the accuracy. It literally picked up the fact I was retching into a toilet. That in itself has given me a lot of confidence in the data that this records, and I'm a real fan of it almost checking up on me to see what I'm doing. Now, there's one other form of tracking that the Ringconn has that I've never seen before in a smart ring, which you might be able to argue its accuracy on. But that's sleep apnea, which is just wild. Never did I think that a ring would be able to tell if I had sleep apnea. To start the sleep apnea tracking and detection, you scroll to the bottom of the main page and enter the sleep apnea section and start tracking a sleep session. At which point you can then lock your phone, put it next to you and make sure the ring stays connected by keeping your phone nearby. Supposedly, according to tests, Ringconn's algorithm, which uses a combination of different measurements, such as heart rate and blood oxygen, is 90% accurate at identifying sleep apnea, which for a ring on my finger is just bloody witchcraft. Although, as a little asterisk here and disclaimer so that I don't get sued into an early grave, Never treat any consumer health tracking device as a substitute for a medical device. Only ever use this type of tech as a guideline, and if you are even a smidgen worried about your health, always seek the advice of your doctor. Now, the only thing that I think the software experience is missing, in its current form anyway, is automatic activity tracking. It would be very nice if the Ring automatically recorded sessions based on things like my heart rate. If it remains elevated for more than 10 minutes, for example, then it should set off the tracking for me to then categorize later on. Of course, this might hinder the long battery life that it has, and you can manually start the activity anyway from the app itself, although there's not much to choose from in terms of the activity algorithms at the moment. I guess this is a brand new product and some of the software features are still in beta, so I'm hoping that we'll see more focus on the activity tracking from Ringconn in the near future. But if I was to summarise the overall experience, it would be that I found it pleasantly comprehensive, and that's especially considering one important fact, and it's perhaps the best part of the overall software experience. The software is free, completely free. No subscription fees, no ongoing payments. What you pay for is what you get. It's a one-time fee for the Ring, and that's a massive thing that sets itself apart from many competitors like Oura, which charge monthly fee to access some of the more detailed stats and analytics. Yes, as a trade-off, it might not have the most clean or most polished software experience out of them all, but it's got zero ongoing costs after the initial purchase, and I can easily overlook any little software points for that fact. But what is the price? Surely the fact that these features are groundbreaking and that there's no subscription cost, the upfront price you'd expect to be more expensive than competitors, right? Well, here's the final surprise of this product. Its RRP is just $299. If that doesn't deserve a standing ovation, I don't know what does. However, time for another disclaimer to avoid losing my house to some man in a wig holding a wooden hammer. Right now, at the time of this review, I've had early access to this product, which in part is why some of the software is still in beta. Most of it is fully developed, however, but during my testing it was an exception with the wellness graph and the sleep apnea monitoring that both have the beta labels still associated with them in the app. For the launch of the Gen 2, Ringconn, in all of their wisdom, have decided to launch it through, yes, you guessed it, Kickstarter. Which, as you know, is not my favourite for launching products. With that said, though, when I checked whilst writing this episode, it already had nearly 10,000 backers with over a month to go, which was incredible performance. But a final disclaimer, so I don't end up living in a cardboard box in the middle of a roundabout. If you're considering backing a project on Kickstarter, you need to be fully aware of the risks associated with supporting a product on Kickstarter. So before you do back a project, make sure you read the trust and accountability pages on Kickstarter, which I'll also link below. Now, despite my cheers about the advancements in this device, I'm not trying to say that it's a perfect product. There's plenty of little things I think could benefit from a tweak or two or update in the software. One of those is, as you know, the activity tracking, and another is the overall layout can feel occasionally cluttered and a little claustrophobic. But a lot of these things may indeed change for the time they release for general purchase, and when they do finally release for purchase, I'll link below to their store too. But make no mistake, compared to everything that I've tried before from smartrings, it's cheaper, it's thinner, it's lighter, and the battery life is excellent. And overall, any little niggle I have with the experience is outshined by those 4 key points. And for that, I really do have to commend Ringconn. They've not just caught up. In many ways, they've absolutely leapfrogged over any competitor. And it's gotten me really excited about wearable technology again, because I just genuinely can't believe how much they've crammed into something this small and this light. It's utter witchcraft. And Ringconn really do deserve some recognition here for what they've achieved with the Gen 2. What do you think? Do you think the Ringconn Gen 2 hits the nail on the head and finally tempts you to look at a smart ring, or is this still not a technology that you want to invest in? Let us know what you think in the comments below so we can all have a good chin wag over it. And if I've helped you decide whether or not to back the Ringconn Gen 2 on Kickstarter or purchase one, I'd love you to return the favour and hit that thumbs up and that subscribe button. But I'll see you guys back for another episode of Stu's Reviews soon. I regret to announce, though, this is the end. I'm going now. I bid you all a fond farewell.